there's obviously been a lot of Islamophobia since the election, and we've been tracking it at ThinkProgress. But in response to the order, we've also seen like a backlash to the backlash, which is very cool. And so you've seen the dialogue kind of change a little about like Muslim and Islams, which is something that's really surprising to me. Like I've been to protests and I've seen like allies from every community there. And so I was wondering what your thoughts are on how to like continue changing that dialogue and to just have it continue.
What we're experiencing in a way that I have not experienced in the United States since I've been here is a real moment of clarity. It's very clear who the enemy is, what the enemy is. I think the left and the center have been riven for decades now by these ideological conflicts. And when suddenly confronted with an existential threat to the republic, those ideological arguments just melt away. And what you have, as I say, is a absolute sense of clarity that there is an enemy that needs to be defeated and everything else needs to go to the back burner. And so you're right, we're seeing groups that don't normally stand shoulder to shoulder with each other, like Jews and Muslims, for instance, fighting back against a prejudice that affects all of us, regardless of who we are.
Yeah, and I think it's nice because like most Americans probably don't know any Muslims. Most Americans maybe don't know a lot about Islam, but you're still seeing these groups come together anyway, which is like really inspiring. I know it's like been a really hard week for a lot of us, especially covering it as it's affecting our communities and our friends and our family. Like, what do you find hope in right now, or how are you taking care of yourself and everything that's going on?
What I do find hope in and optimism in is precisely as I say, the enormity of the resistance against this narcissistic sociopath. I think what I've noticed, and what is important to always remember, is that we are the majority. You know, this is a man who is sitting now at 36% approval ratings, and I understand that he thinks math is fake, but it's a real thing, actually. And I think what we are seeing is not just the most unpopular president in presidential history, but the fact that the majority is not willing to sort of say that this is somebody else's problems. You know, part of what American democracy is about is a recognition that we're all in this together. And so if the president can come after one of us, he can come after any one of us. And I think that the only way that we're going to be able to fight back is precisely to have this all for one for all mentality. And I've seen it in a way that I've never seen it before. And I think that's definitely cause for optimism.
So how do you think it's changed the perception of America abroad, like our standing in the world?
I think it's severely damaged our standing in the world. It's damaged it with our traditional allies. I mean, if you look at the parliament in the UK right now, essentially blocking any kind of state visit or official recognition of the President of the United States.
I would not wish to issue an invitation to President Trump to speak in the Royal Gallery. I feel very strongly that our opposition to racism and to sexism and our support for equality before the law and an independent judiciary are hugely important considerations in the House of Commons.
But more importantly, even some of the countries on the banned list. I mean, we have to recall that of those 7 countries, some of them are not just allies, they are very close allies. I mean, we are, right now, as you and I speak, we have American military personnel on the ground in Iraq fighting shoulder to shoulder with Iraqi troops against a common existential threat. And we banned all Iraqis from coming to the United States. I mean, it's astonishing. It's astonishing that could be the case. But I think it's an indication of precisely what kind of a threat sits in the White House right now.
If you have like one takeaway for people who don't know a lot about Islam or a lot about Muslims or the people that are even being affected by this ban, like what would you want to tell them?
I'd say don't read a book. Don't, get information, data, knowledge. These things are important, but they don't really matter in the end. All that really matters is relationships. You're not going to learn about Islam and then suddenly change your mind about Muslims. That's not how it works. Um, the only way you're going to change your mind about Muslims is if you get to know a Muslim. It's just a matter of getting to know a human being as a human being instead of as a symbol for some other idea, whether that be a religion or an ethnicity or a culture or nationality or what have you. Just get to know someone as a person. That's always been the way in which we shape our perceptions, and it still remains to the case today.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully we can all like reach out to one another.
Find a Muslim.
Yes, find a Muslim. That's all you have to do.